Are you struggling to focus in a world full of distractions? Imagine turning chaos into clarity and reclaiming your attention every single day. In this video, you'll discover the life-changing audiobook How to Focus in a Distracted World, broken into 10 powerful chapters designed to transform your mind, your habits, and your results. From understanding why your mind keeps wandering, to mastering willpower, building habits that protect your focus, reclaiming mental clarity through digital detox, and even achieving your biggest long-term goals, this audiobook guides you step by step. Every chapter is packed with actionable strategies, real-life examples, and motivational insights you can apply immediately. The best part, this video is completely ad-free for your uninterrupted learning. Hit that subscribe button now and make this your daily source of growth. Start transforming your focus today and watch your productivity and life soar. Chapter 1. Understanding Distractions. Why your mind keeps wandering constantly. Distractions are not merely interruptions. They are a reflection of the inner restlessness of the mind. In a world overflowing with constant notifications, endless streams of content, and perpetual demands on attention, it is no surprise that the human mind struggles to remain focused. Every day, countless individuals sit with the best intentions to work, to create, to learn, yet find themselves pulled away, chasing fleeting impulses, succumbing to habit-driven diversions. Understanding why the mind keeps wandering is the first step toward mastering focus, because until the root of distraction is recognized, efforts to concentrate are like trying to build a house on sand. The mind is not a machine designed to endure endless stimuli. It is a living instrument that thrives on clarity, purpose, and calm. Every time attention drifts, it is signaling an unmet need, an unresolved thought, or an environmental cue that competes for mental energy. Recognizing these signals, rather than fighting them blindly, transforms distraction from an enemy into a teacher. The first cause of wandering attention is the inherent nature of thought itself. The human brain is wired to explore, to imagine, to solve problems. It seeks novelty and reacts to changes in the environment. This evolutionary trait once ensured survival, allowing early humans to notice movement in the forest or sense danger from a distance. Today, however, it manifests as constant curiosity and an urge to switch tasks at the slightest hint of interest. A message pings on a phone, a news headline flashes on a screen, and the mind abandons the task at hand, leaping to something more immediately stimulating. This is not a failure of willpower, it is a biological tendency. Understanding this helps remove the guilt often associated with distraction. It is not a personal flaw but a natural feature of the brain that must be managed consciously. Awareness of this biological wiring allows for deliberate practices that strengthen attention over time. Another reason for a wandering mind lies in emotional undercurrents. Anxiety, boredom, and unprocessed feelings silently tug at attention, pulling it away from the present. When the mind is unsettled, even the most important task feels heavy and burdensome, while minor distractions appear more enticing and easier to engage with. The mind seeks comfort in these small escapes, yet they come at the cost of productivity and personal satisfaction. Recognizing the emotional triggers behind distraction is critical. Keeping a mental journal or reflecting on moments when attention drifts can reveal patterns, perhaps stress spikes before checking social media or fatigue precedes mindless browsing. Emotional self-awareness provides a roadmap, highlighting the internal conditions that need tending before focus can flourish. Addressing these underlying states through rest, reflection, or deliberate mental practice strengthens the mind's ability to stay grounded and attentive. External environment plays a decisive role in why the mind wanders. Cluttered spaces, background noise, constant interruptions, and multitasking tempt the brain to scatter attention. The human mind craves order and simplicity. When it encounters chaos, it struggles to allocate focus effectively. Even seemingly minor disturbances, a notification chime, a buzzing appliance, or a conversation in the background, fragment mental energy. Creating an environment conducive to focus is an act of discipline that reflects the Stoic principle of controlling what is within reach. Organizing the workspace, minimizing visual and auditory distractions, and establishing clear boundaries around focus time allows the mind to function with clarity. Small adjustments, like turning off unnecessary notifications, setting defined work periods, or creating a dedicated workspace, compound over time, dramatically increasing the brain's ability to sustain attention. Habits and routines are deeply intertwined with distraction. A mind trained to switch tasks impulsively or to seek constant stimulation is easily disrupted. Habits form neural pathways that either strengthen focus or weaken it. Each time attention is surrendered to a fleeting impulse, the brain reinforces the habit of distraction. Conversely, deliberate attention exercises, regular work schedules, and consistent routines cultivate resilience. Beginning with small, manageable practices, setting aside blocks of uninterrupted time, using timers to dedicate focus to a single task, or intentionally limiting exposure to digital distractions, builds the mental muscles required for sustained concentration. Over time, these habits create a foundation where focus becomes a natural byproduct rather than a constant struggle. Understanding the cost of distraction provides motivation to reclaim attention. Wandering thoughts diminish productivity, erode confidence, and create a subtle yet persistent anxiety. Tasks take longer, ideas remain incomplete, and the mind feels perpetually behind. Yet this awareness should not foster despair, but action. Recognizing the tangible consequences of distraction reinforces the value of focused practice. Each deliberate moment of attention invested in a task becomes a building block of mastery, creativity, and meaningful accomplishment. In this sense, focus is both a skill and a form of self-respect, a declaration that the mind's energy is valuable and worthy of protection. Practical strategies to manage distractions begin with awareness and extend to structured interventions. Noticing when the mind drifts, identifying the triggers, and labeling distractions reduces their unconscious power. A simple practice is to pause periodically and acknowledge, without judgment, where attention has wandered. This recognition itself strengthens the cognitive muscles of self-control. Once aware, external adjustments such as scheduling specific times for checking messages, creating a tidy and dedicated workspace, or setting short, concentrated periods of work can be implemented. The principle is clear. Attention requires both internal awareness and external support. Both must be cultivated deliberately and consistently. Developing mental stamina is equally crucial. The ability to sustain focus is not static. It is like a muscle that grows stronger with exercise. Activities that challenge attention, such as reading dense material, practicing meditation, or working on complex tasks without interruption, gradually extend the mind's capacity. Equally, periods of rest and recovery are essential. Fatigue weakens attention, making distractions more enticing. Balanced routines that incorporate focused work, restorative breaks, physical movement, and mental relaxation create optimal conditions for the mind to operate at its peak. Discipline in care for the mind and body is inseparable from mastery of focus. Finally, cultivating a sense of purpose dramatically reduces susceptibility to distractions. When tasks are infused with clear intention and personal significance, the mind naturally prioritizes them. Purpose acts as a compass, directing attention with clarity and resilience. Without a compelling reason, even minor interruptions can derail effort. With a strong why, focus becomes a choice aligned with deeper values. Daily reflection, setting meaningful goals and connecting actions to long-term aspirations anchor attention in a way that fleeting stimuli cannot overpower. Distraction is not an immutable condition, but a challenge to be met with wisdom, awareness, and deliberate action. Understanding why the mind wanders, the biological tendencies, emotional triggers, environmental influences, habitual patterns, and lack of purpose provides the insight necessary to intervene effectively. Practical steps, such as cultivating self-awareness, organizing the environment, establishing disciplined routines, exercising mental stamina, and aligning work with personal purpose, build a life where focus is achievable and sustainable. Each day presents the opportunity to reclaim attention, to choose where mental energy flows, and to practice the art of presence. Mastery over distraction is not a final destination, but a lifelong practice, one that transforms not only productivity, but also the quality of experience, the depth of accomplishment, and the peace of mind. By embracing this understanding, attention ceases to drift aimlessly, and the mind, once restless, becomes a steadfast ally in the pursuit of meaningful work, growth, and fulfillment. This chapter establishes the foundation for every step that follows, illuminating why focus is often elusive and how understanding the root causes equips anyone to regain control over their mind and their life. The journey to mastery begins here, with insight, action, and unwavering resolve. Chapter 2: The Science of Focus. How attention really works daily. Focus is often misunderstood as a simple act of willpower, as though attention is a switch that can be turned on and off at desire. In reality, focus is a finely tuned cognitive process governed by the brain's complex architecture. Attention functions like a spotlight, selectively illuminating some aspects of experience while leaving others in the shadows. Understanding how this process works provides not only clarity about why concentration wavers, but also actionable tools to enhance it in daily life. The human mind is capable of remarkable feats of attention, yet it is constantly under assault from environmental stimuli, internal thoughts, and emotional fluctuations. Recognizing the mechanics behind attention transforms the struggle with distraction into a disciplined engagement with the world, empowering individuals to navigate tasks with precision and purpose. The brain processes attention through multiple systems that interact dynamically. One of the most important is the prefrontal cortex, which acts as a central control hub for decision-making, planning, and sustaining attention. When the prefrontal cortex is fully engaged, it filters distractions, prioritizes tasks, and directs cognitive resources toward the goal at hand. However, this system is not inexhaustible. It requires mental energy and clarity to function optimally. Fatigue, stress, or cognitive overload can reduce its effectiveness, making the mind more susceptible to distractions. Understanding this allows for strategic management of mental resources, structuring the day to tackle complex work when cognitive energy is highest, and reserving simpler repetitive tasks for periods when attention is naturally lower. Attention operates on two primary modes, focused and diffuse. Focused attention is the intense concentration applied to a single task, where the mind is fully absorbed and distractions are minimized. Diffuse attention, on the other hand, is a relaxed awareness that allows the mind to make creative connections and explore ideas in a broader context. Both modes are essential, yet the modern world often forces the brain into constant partial engagement, a state where neither mode functions optimally. Recognizing when each mode is necessary and scheduling tasks accordingly dramatically improves productivity and mental clarity. For instance, writing a detailed report requires focused attention, while brainstorming a new project benefits from a diffuse, contemplative state. Alternating between these modes with intention keeps the brain agile and prevents burnout. Neuroscience reveals that attention is deeply influenced by novelty and reward. The brain is naturally drawn to stimuli that are new, emotionally charged, or immediately gratifying. This explains why social media, instant messages, and constant notifications are such potent distractors. The dopamine system reinforces these behaviors, creating habitual loops that hijack attention from long-term goals. Awareness of this neurological tendency is powerful because it shifts the perspective from self-blame to informed strategy. By deliberately designing the environment to reduce unnecessary novelty, turning off notifications, limiting app use, and batching communication, attention can be reclaimed. The brain's reward system can then be redirected to tasks aligned with meaningful objectives, creating intrinsic motivation rather than reactive impulse. A practical and highly effective strategy to train attention is called single-task immersion. This practice involves dedicating a set block of time to one task only, eliminating all competing stimuli. For example, an individual writing a report might close email and messaging applications, silence phone notifications, and set a timer for 50 minutes of uninterrupted work. During this period, any stray thoughts are acknowledged without judgment and gently redirected to the task. This simple yet disciplined exercise strengthens the neural pathways responsible for sustained focus, improving the brain's capacity for attention over time. The real-world impact of this technique is profound. A professional who routinely practices single-task immersion can complete complex projects in a fraction of the time previously required, with higher quality results and reduced mental fatigue. Understanding attention also requires recognizing the role of habits and routines. The brain conserves energy by automating repeated behaviors, but these automated patterns can either support or undermine focus. Morning routines that prime the mind for productive work, rituals for starting tasks, or structured breaks all condition attention. Conversely, habits of multitasking, constant checking of devices, or unstructured work periods fragment attention and diminish efficiency. Intentional design of daily routines creates a scaffold for focus, where high-priority work is supported by cognitive readiness rather than sheer effort. A practical approach is to establish anchor points in the day, consistent cues that signal the brain it is time for focused work, such as beginning with a short meditation, reviewing the day's key priorities, or clearing the workspace of distractions. External environment shapes attention as much as internal state. The layout of a workspace, ambient noise, and visual clutter all exert subtle but powerful effects on the brain's capacity to concentrate. Research shows that open, organized spaces with minimal unnecessary stimuli enhance sustained attention, whereas chaotic or overstimulating environments increase cognitive load and reduce efficiency. Lighting, temperature, and ergonomics also play critical roles in maintaining mental clarity. By curating an environment that aligns with the brain's attentional needs, focus becomes less a struggle and more a natural consequence of context. Even small adjustments, like using noise-canceling headphones, keeping the desk clear of unrelated items, or placing a plant or object of calm in view, can anchor attention and reduce the brain's tendency to wander. Emotional regulation is a further component of effective focus. The brain's attentional systems are highly sensitive to stress, anxiety, and unresolved emotion. When the mind is preoccupied with worries or negative feelings, the capacity to engage with the present task diminishes. Techniques such as deep breathing, journaling, or brief meditation serve to regulate emotions, creating the inner stability necessary for attention to flourish. Consider a student preparing for an exam. Without addressing underlying anxiety, attempts to concentrate will repeatedly fail, whereas a short mindfulness exercise prior to study sessions clears mental clutter, allowing sustained and effective engagement. Emotional clarity thus underpins cognitive clarity, demonstrating the intimate link between inner life and practical productivity. Motivation and meaningful engagement dramatically amplify the brain's ability to focus. Tasks that are personally significant or connected to larger goals naturally command attention. Conversely, work perceived as mundane or irrelevant struggles to hold the mind's spotlight. Real-life examples abound. An entrepreneur immersed in launching a project aligned with a long-held vision will find hours passing unnoticed, while routine administrative work may require conscious effort to maintain engagement. Linking tasks to personal values and long-term aspirations transforms focus from a mechanical exercise into a motivated, purpose-driven state. Finally, understanding how attention works daily encourages disciplined recovery. Focus cannot be sustained indefinitely without breaks, and the brain operates in cycles of energy and alertness. Strategic rest periods, movement, and sleep are essential for maintaining peak cognitive performance. Attempting to push through exhaustion results in fragmented attention, increased errors, and mental depletion. Recognizing these natural rhythms and planning work accordingly ensures that each moment of focus is maximized, productive, and fulfilling. The science of focus reveals that attention is not a static trait, but a dynamic, tradable process. By understanding the brain's architecture, the interplay between emotion and cognition, the influence of environment, and the power of purpose, attention can be strengthened systematically. Practices such as single-task immersion, intentional routines, emotional regulation, and strategic environmental design provide tangible methods for reclaiming control over one's mental energy. Real-life application demonstrates that individuals who integrate these insights experience not only increased productivity, but a profound sense of mental clarity and accomplishment. Mastery of focus is not reserved for the few. It is available to anyone willing to understand the mechanisms of attention and commit to deliberate practice. By embracing these principles, attention shifts from a fragile resource constantly under threat to a disciplined instrument capable of shaping reality. Each moment of directed focus is an investment in competence, confidence, and life satisfaction. Daily application transforms the experience of work, study, and personal development, proving that understanding the science of focus is the gateway to mastering both the mind and the meaningful life it enables. Chapter 3: Digital Detox Strategies to Reclaim Your Mental Clarity Fast. The digital world is designed to capture attention and hold it, often at the cost of mental clarity and meaningful engagement. Notifications, social media feeds, and endless streams of information compete for cognitive resources, leaving the mind fragmented and restless. Every ping, vibration, or pop-up is engineered to trigger curiosity and reward circuits in the brain, creating a cycle of habitual distraction. The consequence is subtle but profound. The ability to focus, to think deeply, and to engage fully with the present moment deteriorates over time. Mental clarity becomes a rare commodity, yet it is essential for creativity, problem-solving, and the pursuit of meaningful goals. Reclaiming this clarity requires deliberate strategies, conscious intervention, and the courage to step away from constant digital stimulation. A digital detox is not merely a temporary escape. It is an intentional reset that allows the brain to recover, recalibrate, and regain its natural capacity for sustained attention. The first step in a digital detox is awareness. Most individuals underestimate the cumulative impact of frequent digital interruptions. Checking email, scrolling through social media, or responding to messages might seem harmless in isolation, but these behaviors compound throughout the day, subtly eroding attention span. Tracking digital usage provides insight into patterns of distraction. Using built-in phone or computer usage trackers, or simply noting times when attention is broken by screens, reveals the true extent of engagement with technology. Awareness itself is a powerful motivator. When confronted with data showing hours lost to fragmented attention, the mind begins to recognize the value of reclaiming those moments for meaningful tasks and reflective thought. Creating boundaries is the next crucial step. Digital devices are tools, but without constraints, they become tyrants. Setting specific periods for checking emails, social media, and messages prevents attention from being constantly hijacked. For example, establishing 2 designated times in a day for email allows tasks to be completed without interruptions, freeing mental energy for deeper focus. Similarly, turning off non-essential notifications reduces the brain's impulse to constantly monitor external stimuli. The environment can be adapted to support these boundaries, placing devices out of reach during work, using apps that temporarily block distracting websites, or keeping the phone in another room are practical measures that create space for concentration. One highly effective practice is the screen-free hour, a dedicated period each day during which all non-essential digital devices are set aside. During this hour, the mind engages fully with a single task, reading, writing, creative work, or reflection, without interruptions. Any wandering thoughts about messages or notifications are acknowledged, but deliberately returned to the activity at hand. This exercise strengthens mental discipline, recalibrates attention, and gradually reduces the compulsive urge to check devices. A real-life example comes from a marketing professional who, after implementing a daily screen-free hour in the morning, noticed a dramatic improvement in project completion speed and overall productivity. Tasks that previously took an entire afternoon were completed in a focused, uninterrupted session, and mental fatigue decreased noticeably. The screen-free hour becomes not just a routine, but a sanctuary for deep thought and meaningful engagement. Understanding the psychological dynamics of technology is essential. Digital platforms are meticulously engineered to exploit human attention through variable rewards, emotional engagement, and instant gratification. The brain's dopamine system is triggered by notifications, likes, and messages, creating a loop of repeated checking and distraction. By recognizing these mechanisms, the user gains insight into why devices feel almost irresistible and can implement strategies to counteract these impulses. One method is to replace digital rewards with intrinsic motivators. Choosing to complete a meaningful task, engage in physical activity, or cultivate a creative skill can satisfy the brain's craving for accomplishment without succumbing to compulsive digital habits. Mindful engagement with technology enhances the detox process. Instead of mindlessly scrolling or reacting to every alert, approach devices with intention. Ask why a particular action is necessary, what value it provides, and whether it aligns with personal goals. This conscious approach shifts technology from a default attention grabber to a tool that serves specific purposes. For instance, checking emails only to respond to critical messages or using social media intentionally to research or connect with meaningful contacts transforms usage from passive distraction to purposeful action. Mindfulness creates a buffer between impulse and behavior, allowing the brain to regain control over its attentional resources. The physical environment also plays a critical role in sustaining mental clarity. Spaces cluttered with devices, chargers, or screens constantly competing for visual attention undermine focus. creating a calm, organized workspace, free from unnecessary digital stimuli, enhances the ability to concentrate. Even subtle adjustments, such as positioning the phone out of sight, using a single screen instead of multiple monitors, or introducing natural elements like plants and light, contribute to a more focused mental state. The mind responds to its surroundings, and a deliberately curated environment supports the cognitive goal of sustained attention. Digital detoxing is not about rejecting technology entirely. It is about reclaiming mastery over attention. Gradual, intentional steps prevent overwhelm and resistance. For example, reducing social media use by 20-30 minutes per day, or setting device-free zones in the home creates achievable milestones. Over time, these small adjustments accumulate, dramatically improving mental clarity and emotional well-being. The process also fosters self-awareness, revealing how attention is fragmented, where compulsive behaviors arise, and how the mind responds when freed from constant stimulation. The benefits of a digital detox extend far beyond improved focus. Emotional well-being strengthens as the mind experiences reduced anxiety, decreased comparison to others, and increased capacity for reflection. Creativity flourishes when uninterrupted thought allows ideas to incubate and evolve. Relationships improve when attention is directed fully toward meaningful interactions, rather than divided among multiple digital channels. Even physical health benefits, as reduced screen time often correlates with better sleep patterns, decreased eye strain, and lower stress levels. The return on investment from reclaiming mental clarity is therefore profound and multifaceted. Applying these strategies requires discipline, planning, and commitment. Begin with a clear understanding of personal digital habits, implement structured boundaries, create intentional periods of screen-free engagement, and cultivate mindfulness in technology use. Combine these practices with environmental adjustments, regular reflection, and gradual progression toward reduced digital dependence. A practical approach might involve starting with 1 hour of screen-free time in the morning, gradually increasing it, and integrating specific tasks during this period that align with meaningful goals. Over weeks, this practice develops a resilient attention span, sharper mental clarity, and renewed energy for tasks that matter most. Ultimately, reclaiming focus in a digital world is an act of sovereignty over one's mind. Devices and applications are neutral. Their impact depends on how they are used and the boundaries established around them. By understanding the psychological mechanisms at play, applying deliberate strategies, and committing to consistent practices, mental clarity can be restored and sustained. A digital detox is not a retreat, but a strategic intervention, a conscious choice to prioritize presence, productivity, and purpose over the constant allure of virtual distractions. It empowers the individual to direct attention with intent, work with deeper focus, and experience life with greater clarity and fulfillment. Through awareness, structured routines, mindful engagement, and environment optimization, digital detoxing transforms attention from a fragmented, scattered resource into a disciplined, reliable instrument. Each deliberate moment of screen-free focus strengthens neural pathways, nurtures emotional resilience, and cultivates a mind capable of sustained, high-quality concentration. Real-life application demonstrates tangible results. Professionals complete projects faster, students absorb information more deeply, and creatives generate higher quality work, all while experiencing reduced mental fatigue and greater satisfaction. By reclaiming control over digital consumption, the mind regains its natural capacity for clarity, presence, and meaningful engagement with life. Chapter 4: Building Habits that Protect Your Focus and Productivity. Focus is not a spontaneous gift. It is the product of consistent habits cultivated over time. Productivity does not happen by accident. The routines, behaviors, and small decisions repeated daily form the backbone of mental clarity and achievement. Every day, people face a choice: surrender to distraction or intentionally shape habits that protect attention and energy. The difference between a day lost to scattered activity and a day spent achieving meaningful results lies in the structures created around focus. Habits are powerful because they operate beneath conscious thought, guiding behavior automatically and conserving mental energy. When designed deliberately, they become allies, ensuring that the mind works efficiently even when willpower wanes. Understanding how to build these habits is critical for anyone who wants to navigate a world brimming with distractions while accomplishing significant goals. One of the first principles of habit building is clarity of purpose. Without a defined objective, habits become empty routines, easily abandoned or misdirected. A clear why acts as a compass, directing attention and effort toward tasks that matter most. For instance, someone striving to write a book must define what completion looks like and why it matters, whether it is to share a life-changing idea, build credibility, or leave a legacy. Once the purpose is established, small, consistent behaviors can be aligned to support it. Writing for 30 minutes every morning, outlining chapters weekly, and reviewing progress monthly are not isolated acts. They are habits anchored to a meaningful goal. The human mind responds to structure. Habits create predictable frameworks that reduce decision fatigue, freeing energy to focus on execution rather than deliberation. Consistency is the engine that drives habit formation. Habits are strengthened through repetition, not intention alone. The more often an action is performed under consistent conditions, the more automatic it becomes. A simple illustration comes from a software developer who struggles to maintain focus while learning new coding languages. By committing to practice for the same hour each morning, in the same location, with all distractions removed, the task shifts from a conscious struggle to a natural routine. Over weeks, the brain begins to anticipate the behavior, neural pathways solidify, and attention flows with minimal friction. This consistency is the cornerstone of productivity. The mind no longer fights itself, but follows a well-worn path to engagement. Another crucial element is designing habits around the natural rhythms of energy and attention. The brain's capacity for focus fluctuates throughout the day. High energy periods are ideal for demanding cognitive work, while lower energy times are better suited for routine or administrative tasks. By structuring habits to align with these natural cycles, individuals maximize output and minimize wasted effort. A journalist, for example, may reserve the morning for investigative writing when mental energy is highest and use afternoons for editing and correspondence. This alignment reduces strain on attention and increases satisfaction, making it easier to maintain consistent, productive routines over time. Environment plays a pivotal role in habit reinforcement. The surroundings in which behaviors are performed provide cues that either support or sabotage focus. A cluttered desk, noisy workspace, or constant access to distractions undermines even the strongest intentions. Conversely, a clean, organized environment, free of unnecessary stimuli, reinforces productive habits. Consider an artist attempting to practice daily sketching. By designating a quiet corner with only essential materials, the artist transforms the space into a behavioral trigger. Entering the room automatically signals the brain that it is time to focus. Environmental cues act as scaffolds for habit formation, reducing reliance on willpower and increasing the likelihood of consistent engagement. A practical habit-building exercise is the anchor habit technique. This involves attaching a new habit to an already established routine, leveraging the automaticity of the existing behavior. For example, if someone already drinks coffee every morning, they can attach a 10-minute journaling session immediately afterward. The existing routine serves as a trigger, reminding the brain to perform the new habit without requiring additional mental effort. A real-life example comes from a marketing executive who struggled to maintain daily meditation. By linking it to the established habit of morning tea, the practice became effortless, occurring naturally after a familiar behavior. Within weeks, the habit was fully ingrained, illustrating how thoughtful anchoring accelerates the development of beneficial routines. Accountability amplifies habit formation. Sharing intentions with a colleague, friend, or mentor creates external pressure to follow through. Humans are socially oriented creatures, and the desire to maintain credibility with others reinforces consistency. Daily check-ins, habit tracking apps, or accountability partners ensure that behaviors are not left solely to fluctuating motivation. A writer aiming to complete a manuscript might report progress weekly to a trusted peer, transforming solitary effort into a structured system supported by social reinforcement. Accountability does not diminish autonomy. Rather, it strengthens commitment and embeds habits more deeply into daily life. Reflection and adjustment are essential for sustaining habits. Not all routines are equally effective, and some may need refinement to align with evolving goals or changing circumstances. Regular review of habits, weekly or monthly, allows for evaluation of effectiveness, elimination of counterproductive behaviors, and introduction of incremental improvements. A student preparing for professional exams may notice that studying late at night is less effective than morning sessions. Adjusting the habit schedule to match periods of peak concentration ensures continued efficiency. Reflection transforms habit building from a rigid prescription into a flexible, adaptive system capable of sustaining long-term focus and productivity. Self-discipline and resilience are reinforced through repeated practice of these habits. Each successful execution of a routine strengthens the individual's confidence and mental fortitude. Challenges inevitably arise: unexpected interruptions, fatigue, or waning motivation, but the consistency of habits provides a foundation for navigating these obstacles without succumbing to distraction. A programmer encountering a complex coding problem can rely on the established habit of deep work periods to systematically approach the issue rather than floundering amid scattered attention. Habits act as stabilizing anchors, ensuring that focus persists even under pressure. Finally, habits become a medium for compounding success. Small, deliberate actions, repeated consistently, accumulate over time to produce significant results. Each day spent following structured routines builds skills, knowledge, and mental resilience that compound into long-term achievement. A professional who dedicates 1 hour daily to skill development will, over a year, invest hundreds of hours of focused growth. The impact is not merely quantitative. The discipline, confidence, and clarity cultivated through habit building permeate every aspect of life. Productivity and focus are not fleeting states, but durable qualities forged through intentional practice. Building habits that protect attention and productivity is a process of thoughtful design, disciplined repetition, and ongoing refinement. By clarifying purpose, aligning behaviors with natural rhythms, leveraging environmental cues, anchoring new habits to existing routines, fostering accountability, and committing to reflection, individuals transform scattered effort into sustainable achievement. The practical, real-world application of these principles empowers anyone to navigate a distracted world with greater ease, accomplish meaningful goals, and cultivate mental resilience. Habits are the framework through which focus is preserved, energy is optimized, and productivity is maximized, offering a pathway to both immediate efficiency and enduring personal growth. Through consistent habit formation, the mind learns to operate on autopilot toward meaningful work, freeing mental energy for creativity, problem-solving and high-value engagement. The ability to direct attention, deliberately sustain effort, and resist distraction is not the product of innate talent, but the result of persistent, structured practice. Each deliberate choice, each repeated action, reinforces the foundation of focus and productivity, transforming ordinary days into a trajectory of extraordinary achievement. By committing to this practice, attention becomes a reliable instrument, and productivity evolves from sporadic bursts into a steady, purposeful flow. Chapter 5: Mindfulness Techniques to Stay Present Amid Chaos and Noise. The ability to remain fully present amid the chaos of daily life is one of the most overlooked skills, yet it is central to focus and mental clarity. The world constantly bombards the senses with noise, information, and urgent demands, pulling attention in countless directions. Without an anchor, the mind drifts. Anxiety rises, and productivity falters. Mindfulness is not a mystical concept reserved for meditation retreats or spiritual practitioners. It is a practical, trainable skill that cultivates awareness, calm, and control over attention. By learning to observe thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment, individuals can step back from reactive patterns and engage deliberately with the moment. This skill is transformative, allowing focus to thrive even when external conditions are turbulent. At its core, mindfulness involves intentional awareness. Most people move through life on autopilot, reacting to stimuli and drifting between tasks without noticing the process. The mind, when left unchecked, tends to replay memories, anticipate future events, or ruminate on worries, creating mental noise that competes with present-moment engagement. Mindfulness shifts the perspective from being swept along by thought to becoming an observer of thought. This subtle but profound distinction enables choice. Attention is directed rather than hijacked. It is in these deliberate moments of awareness that focus is strengthened, emotional regulation improves, and clarity emerges. The brain, like a muscle, grows stronger in response to repeated, intentional exercise of attention. One fundamental practice is breath awareness. Conscious attention to the breath provides a tangible anchor to the present, grounding the mind in the rhythm of life itself. Even 1 minute of focused breathing can interrupt cycles of distraction and scattered thought. For instance, a professional feeling overwhelmed by a backlog of tasks can pause, close their eyes, and take 10 deep, measured breaths, observing the sensation of air entering and leaving the body. This simple act interrupts habitual patterns of stress, resets neural pathways, and prepares the brain for sustained engagement with the next task. Over time, regular breath-focused mindfulness trains the brain to return to the present more readily, enhancing both focus and resilience. Another aspect of mindfulness involves sensory observation. Paying deliberate attention to sights, sounds, textures, and smells in the environment brings awareness fully into the current moment. A chef, for example, navigating a busy kitchen, may notice the aroma of ingredients, the sizzle of food on the pan, or the texture of a dough beneath their hands. This focus on sensory detail not only enhances performance, but also cultivates presence, reducing the mind's tendency to wander. Engaging the senses intentionally transforms mundane activities into opportunities for mindfulness, reinforcing the ability to maintain attention under a variety of conditions. Mindfulness also encourages noticing mental patterns without attachment. Thoughts naturally arise, and the mind generates judgments, plans, and critiques. Rather than suppressing these thoughts, the mindful approach is to observe them with curiosity and detachment, acknowledging their presence and gently returning attention to the chosen anchor. A student preparing for an important exam may notice anxiety-driven thoughts about potential failure. Instead of spiraling, they acknowledge these thoughts and shift focus back to the study material, gradually reducing emotional interference. This capacity to recognize distraction without reacting is central to maintaining focus in a distracted world. Emotional awareness is a key element of mindfulness. Emotions, if unexamined, drive behavior and fragment attention. By observing emotional states without judgment, individuals gain insight into their triggers and can respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. For instance, a manager receiving critical feedback might notice a surge of defensiveness. A mindful response allows them to pause, reflect, and respond constructively, rather than reacting out of habitual defensiveness. Emotional regulation not only protects focus, but also improves decision-making, relationships, and overall well-being. Integration of mindfulness into daily routines enhances its effectiveness. Simple, structured practices embedded within existing activities reduce resistance and increase sustainability. A practical approach is to designate one task each day as a mindful task, performed with full attention. For example, a commute can be used for sensory awareness rather than scrolling through a phone. Observing the movement of the car, the rhythm of walking, the feel of the steering wheel, or the ambient sounds trains the mind to remain engaged with the present. A real-life example comes from a corporate executive who turned the daily commute into a mindfulness practice, noticing subtle patterns in thought and emotion. Over weeks, this practice significantly reduced stress levels, enhanced creativity, and improved the quality of decision-making in the office. Technology can both aid and hinder mindfulness. Applications that prompt brief mindful check-ins or provide guided exercises are useful, but over-reliance on digital tools can defeat the purpose if they contribute to cognitive clutter. The goal is to cultivate internal attentional control rather than dependency on external prompts. Starting with simple device-free exercises such as observing breath, noting thoughts, or practicing a mindful walk develops intrinsic capacity to stay present, independent of external technology. Mindfulness fosters patience, a vital companion to focus. The distracted mind often seeks immediate gratification, hopping between tasks and stimuli. By practicing presence, individuals learn to tolerate moments of stillness and observe tasks unfolding gradually. This patience is essential for deep work, complex problem-solving, and creative endeavors that require sustained attention over time. A writer, for instance, who sits with a blank page, mindfully observing the flow of ideas, rather than seeking instant inspiration, consistently produces higher quality work and experiences less frustration. Compassionate awareness amplifies mindfulness benefits. Observing thoughts and behaviors without harsh judgment encourages persistence. The mind will wander, mistakes will occur, and habits will falter. Responding with patience and self-compassion rather than self-criticism creates an environment conducive to learning and growth. This approach aligns with practical focus. The goal is steady improvement, not perfection. Over time, compassionate awareness strengthens resilience, making it easier to return to the task at hand after interruptions or lapses in attention. Finally, mindfulness transforms the perception of time. When attention is scattered, time feels rushed and fragmented. When present moment engagement is cultivated, time is experienced more fully, allowing for richer learning, deeper connections, and a greater sense of accomplishment. Each task becomes an opportunity to practice focus, to observe, and to act intentionally. The cumulative effect is profound. The mind becomes capable of sustained attention, even in environments that are chaotic or noisy, and the individual experiences a greater sense of agency over their cognitive and emotional life. By practicing breath awareness, sensory observation, emotional recognition, and compassionate presence, mindfulness becomes a practical tool for maintaining focus amid distraction. Embedding mindful exercises into daily routines strengthens neural pathways, enhances resilience, and improves both productivity and well-being. Real-world application demonstrates tangible results. Individuals complete tasks with higher quality, experience lower stress, and cultivate the mental agility necessary to navigate complexity. Mindfulness is not a luxury, it is a practical discipline that enables the mind to remain anchored, attentive, and fully engaged, regardless of external chaos. The transformative power of mindfulness lies in its simplicity and accessibility. No special equipment or extensive time is required. What matters is consistent, intentional practice. Each mindful moment reinforces the ability to notice distraction, redirect attention, and engage deliberately with the present. Over time, this capacity extends into all areas of life: work, relationships, learning, and personal development, creating a foundation for sustained focus, emotional balance, and meaningful accomplishment. The mind, trained through mindfulness, becomes a reliable ally capable of navigating complexity with clarity and poise, turning distraction into opportunity for deeper awareness and deliberate action. Chapter 6. Time Management Secrets that reduce overwhelm and increase focus. Time is the one resource that is both finite and non-renewable, yet most people treat it as if it were unlimited. The feeling of overwhelm is rarely caused by the amount of work itself. It emerges from unmanaged time, unclear priorities, and scattered attention. Mastering time is not about cramming more tasks into each day, but about strategically allocating attention and energy to what truly matters. When managed effectively, time creates a structure in which focus can thrive, stress diminishes, and productivity multiplies. Understanding how to design a daily rhythm that honors natural energy cycles, prioritizes high-value tasks, and eliminates wasted effort is the cornerstone of reclaiming mental clarity and achieving meaningful results. The first step toward effective time management is identifying priorities. Most people fall into the trap of responding to the loudest or most urgent demands, rather than the most important ones. The Eisenhower principle, separating tasks into urgent versus important, provides clarity in decision-making. Tasks that are important but not urgent often carry the greatest long-term impact, yet they are consistently postponed in favor of reactive work. By consciously scheduling these high-impact activities first, individuals protect their most valuable time and ensure that energy is devoted to work that advances meaningful objectives. A consultant, for example, who blocks the first 2 hours of the day for strategic planning before answering emails consistently produces more innovative solutions than peers who are perpetually reactive. Breaking the day into structured blocks of focus is a highly effective practice. Known as time blocking, this approach assigns specific periods for specific types of work, preventing the mind from flitting between tasks. For instance, one might reserve the morning for deep creative work, the afternoon for meetings, and the late afternoon for administrative follow-up. This method reduces cognitive load, eliminates decision fatigue, and ensures that attention is dedicated fully to the task at hand. A real-life example comes from a project manager who implemented daily time blocks for proposal writing. Before adopting this system, proposals were delayed and fragmented by constant interruptions. After restructuring the day, work was completed more quickly, with higher quality, and stress levels decreased noticeably. Limiting multitasking is essential for both time management and focus. The human brain is not designed to perform multiple cognitively demanding tasks simultaneously. Attempts to do so result in attention fragmentation, slower performance, and increased errors. Instead, sequential task completion allows for uninterrupted engagement and higher quality output. A software engineer who previously toggled between coding, emails, and meetings began dedicating uninterrupted hours solely to programming. The result was not only faster completion, but also more elegant, robust solutions. By intentionally avoiding the illusion of multitasking, individuals gain time efficiency and cognitive clarity simultaneously. One practical exercise for improving time management is the priority triage. At the beginning of each day, list all tasks and assign each one a rank based on importance and urgency. Focus exclusively on completing the top 3 tasks, delegating, deferring, or eliminating the rest. This method creates a manageable scope, reduces overwhelm, and reinforces deliberate focus on what truly matters. A real-life illustration involves an entrepreneur juggling multiple client projects. By applying the priority triage, they were able to complete high-value deliverables first, increasing client satisfaction, reducing stress, and freeing time for strategic business development that had previously been neglected. Delegation and selective attention are key aspects of managing time effectively. Recognizing which tasks require personal involvement and which can be delegated conserves energy for high-impact activities. A team leader, for instance, might entrust routine reporting or data entry to skilled assistants, freeing personal bandwidth for strategic decision-making. Similarly, eliminating low-value tasks or commitments that do not align with priorities ensures that time is spent on what truly advances goals. Time is not infinite, and defending it against unnecessary consumption is a practice of discipline and foresight. The natural cycles of energy throughout the day must also inform scheduling decisions. Attention peaks and wanes in predictable patterns. High concentration tasks are best handled during periods of alertness, while repetitive or administrative work can be slotted during lower energy periods. Understanding these cycles allows individuals to align work with capacity, optimizing both productivity and mental clarity. For instance, a writer might notice maximum focus between 8 and 11 a.m., reserving this window for intensive drafting while leaving afternoon hours for editing or responding to correspondence. Aligning tasks with energy levels transforms time management from a mechanical schedule into a strategy that respects human biology. Reducing external distractions amplifies the benefits of structured time. Unnecessary meetings, incessant notifications, and open office chatter disrupt attention and fragment work periods. Setting boundaries such as specific do not disturb times, silencing non-essential alerts, and designing quiet workspaces creates an environment conducive to deep engagement. A financial analyst who implemented device-free focus blocks found that report preparation time decreased by nearly half, with greater accuracy and less mental fatigue. By controlling the environment, time is not only managed but also protected, ensuring that high-value periods are uninterrupted. Reflection at the end of each day is a critical component of effective time management. Evaluating what was accomplished, identifying patterns of distraction, and planning for improvement ensures continuous refinement of habits. A teacher, for example, might note that grading assignments late in the evening consistently led to errors and fatigue. By adjusting the schedule to handle grading during mid-afternoon, when attention was steadier, performance and efficiency improved. Reflection transforms time management from a rigid plan into a dynamic system capable of adapting to individual rhythms and circumstances. Finally, understanding the psychological impact of perceived time scarcity is vital. When overwhelmed, the mind tends to fragment, rushing from task to task, and attention diminishes. Slowing down deliberately, prioritizing, and structuring the day instills a sense of control and spaciousness, reducing stress while increasing focus. Time management is less about maximizing minutes and more about optimizing attention and energy. The combination of prioritization, structured focus blocks, delegation, energy alignment, environmental control, and reflection forms a holistic approach that allows individuals to engage deeply with meaningful work, reduce overwhelm, and reclaim their time as a strategic asset. Applying these principles results in tangible transformation. Tasks are completed more efficiently, attention is sustained for longer periods, stress diminishes, and mental clarity is enhanced. Real-life application demonstrates that strategic time management is not merely a productivity tool, but a framework for living deliberately, enabling individuals to accomplish more while experiencing less cognitive strain. By integrating these strategies into daily life, focus shifts from being a fleeting resource to a cultivated skill, and the perception of time transforms from an oppressive constraint into an ally in achieving meaningful outcomes. Through careful design, conscious prioritization, disciplined execution, and reflective adjustment, time becomes a controlled element that supports attention, productivity, and purpose. Every decision about how to spend minutes and hours either strengthens focus or undermines it. By mastering the allocation of time, individuals gain leverage over distraction, harness energy effectively, and achieve results that compound over the long term. Time management is not a rigid schedule, but a flexible, adaptive system that empowers focus, reduces overwhelm, and creates the foundation for both immediate accomplishment and enduring success. Chapter 7: Designing your environment to minimize interruptions and distractions. The environment in which a person works or lives has a profound impact on their ability to focus. Attention is fragile, and external conditions can either support it or erode it entirely. Visual clutter, constant noise, and unstructured surroundings continuously compete for cognitive resources, fragmenting thought and reducing efficiency. Every stimulus that the brain perceives demands processing, even if subconsciously, which drains energy and undermines sustained attention. Designing an environment that minimizes interruptions and distractions is not merely about aesthetics, it is a strategic investment in productivity, mental clarity, and well-being. The spaces people inhabit can either amplify their focus or sabotage it, and the most successful individuals understand that controlling their surroundings is as important as managing their own habits and mindset. The first step in creating a focus-enhancing environment is awareness of the elements that cause distraction. Many people underestimate the subtle ways their surroundings shape attention. A buzzing phone, an overflowing inbox, a cluttered desk, or even an uncomfortable chair diverts mental energy from the task at hand. Observing daily routines and noting when attention breaks occur provides insight into environmental triggers. By cataloging these interruptions, it becomes possible to address them systematically rather than reacting passively. Awareness transforms the environment from a source of unconscious interference into a landscape that can be actively shaped to support concentration. Physical organization is critical. Cluttered surfaces and scattered materials create visual noise, forcing the brain to process irrelevant information continuously. A clean, orderly workspace allows attention to flow toward the intended task. For example, a writer who keeps only the necessary tools, laptop, notebook, and reference materials on their desk experiences less cognitive friction and more seamless engagement with the writing process. Even minor adjustments such as neatly stacking papers, hiding unnecessary cables, or arranging supplies logically reduce micro-interruptions and preserve mental energy. The environment becomes a silent ally, signaling to the brain that focus is expected and distractions are minimized. Lighting and ergonomics also influence attention. Dim or harsh lighting can strain the eyes and increase fatigue, while poor seating posture contributes to discomfort that interrupts concentration. Optimizing these elements ensures that the body supports the mind, rather than competing with it. A graphic designer, for instance, who adjusts desk height, lighting angles, and screen brightness, finds that long sessions of creative work are less taxing, enabling deeper immersion and higher quality output. Environmental design, therefore, is not merely aesthetic, it directly impacts cognitive performance and endurance. Noise management is another essential factor. The human brain is highly sensitive to auditory input, and even background sounds can reduce working memory and attention. Solutions range from physical barriers, such as partitions and soundproofing, to technological aids like noise-cancelling headphones or white noise machines. A call center manager discovered that introducing noise-cancelling headphones for staff not only reduced complaints about distractions, but also increased call handling efficiency and accuracy. Managing auditory input transforms the environment into a sanctuary for focused engagement, minimizing involuntary shifts of attention caused by irrelevant sounds. Technology placement and control are central to environmental design. Digital devices are potent sources of interruption if left within easy reach. Strategic placement, keeping phones out of immediate sight, disabling unnecessary notifications, and creating device-free zones, reduces the brain's tendency to respond reflexively to every alert. A real-life example is a marketing executive who relocated the office phone to a separate desk area and silenced non-essential notifications on the computer. The result was a dramatic increase in focused work sessions and their ability to complete complex campaigns ahead of schedule. By deliberately controlling the spatial relationship with technology, attention is preserved for high-value activities. Color and spatial layout also affect cognitive performance. Certain colors can enhance focus and calmness, while open and well-structured spaces reduce feelings of chaos. Minimalist design principles, keeping only what is necessary and aesthetically pleasing, create a mental environment conducive to clarity and productivity. A programmer, for example, who redesigned their home office with soft neutral colors, clear desk surfaces, and logically arranged equipment, reported less mental fatigue and more sustained attention during coding sessions. The environment becomes a physical reflection of mental order, reinforcing habits of concentration and discipline. One practical exercise to enhance focus through environmental design is the single-purpose workspace. This involves creating a dedicated area used exclusively for one type of focused work. All other activities, emails, casual reading, or social interactions occur elsewhere. For instance, a student may designate a specific corner of a room solely for studying, free from phones, unrelated materials, or entertainment distractions. During study sessions, the mind associates this environment with concentration, facilitating deeper engagement and reducing habitual mind wandering. Over time, the space itself becomes a cue for focus, triggering a psychological readiness to perform at peak cognitive levels. Consistency in environmental cues strengthens the relationship between surroundings and focus. When a workspace is used consistently for a specific type of activity, the brain begins to anticipate the associated mental state, easing transitions into deep work. An architect, for instance, who reserved a studio desk solely for design work, found that stepping into this space automatically induced a heightened state of creative attention, reducing the time needed to settle into complex tasks. The environment acts as an external scaffold for mental discipline, minimizing reliance on conscious effort alone. Maintenance and ongoing refinement are essential. Environments must evolve with changing tasks, goals, and energy patterns. Regularly reviewing the workspace, Reorganizing materials, adjusting lighting, and updating technology arrangements ensures that the environment continues to support focus rather than becoming a source of friction. A writer noticed over time that certain decorative items distracted attention. By removing these visual interruptions and streamlining the desk, focus improved and creative output increased. Continuous adaptation ensures that the environment remains aligned with cognitive needs and the demands of work. Designing an environment to minimize distractions is a comprehensive strategy that encompasses physical organization, sensory management, technological control, and spatial consistency. Each adjustment, from the placement of a monitor to the choice of color, contributes to a mental landscape that supports attention rather than depletes it. The process transforms previously reactive engagement into a deliberate orchestration of conditions that favor sustained focus, creativity, and efficiency. Real-world examples across professions, from writers to executives to designers, demonstrate that thoughtful environmental design directly enhances performance, reduces fatigue, and cultivates the mental conditions necessary for achievement. Ultimately, environmental design empowers the mind by reducing cognitive load, protecting attention, and signaling readiness for deep work. When surroundings are curated intentionally, focus becomes less a struggle and more a natural outcome of context. Every aspect of the environment, from sound to light to organization, acts as a silent partner, enabling the individual to navigate complexity with clarity and poise. By investing time and attention into shaping one's workspace and living area, people reclaim control over their mental state, making concentration, productivity, and high-quality work the default rather than the exception. Chapter 8. Overcoming mental fatigue to maintain sharp attention longer. Mental fatigue is one of the most insidious obstacles to focus. Unlike external distractions that are visible and identifiable, mental exhaustion builds silently, gradually eroding attention, clarity, and productivity. Hours of cognitive work, constant decision-making, and emotional strain drain mental energy, leaving the brain less capable of sustained concentration and deeper thinking. When mental fatigue sets in, even simple tasks feel daunting, mistakes multiply, and motivation diminishes. Overcoming this fatigue is not about forcing the mind to work harder. It is about understanding the sources of depletion and implementing strategies that restore, preserve, and optimize cognitive energy. Attention is a finite resource, and learning to manage it effectively is central to performing at one's best consistently. Understanding the causes of mental fatigue is the first step toward overcoming it. Cognitive overload, sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, emotional stress, and environmental distractions all contribute to the gradual erosion of focus. Continuous multitasking, frequent interruptions, and excessive screen time deplete mental reserves, leaving the brain exhausted. Recognizing that mental fatigue is not a personal failing but a natural consequence of sustained cognitive effort allows for a practical, solution-oriented approach. By identifying the precise factors that sap energy, targeted interventions can be designed to restore mental clarity and sharpen attention. Rest and recovery are foundational to maintaining sustained focus. The brain requires periods of downtime to consolidate information, repair neural pathways, and regulate emotional states. Short, intentional breaks interspersed between focused work sessions prevent cognitive depletion and enhance long-term efficiency. The practice of taking a micro break every 60 to 90 minutes, pausing to stretch, walk, or simply breathe, refreshes neural circuits and restores attention. A real-life example comes from a data analyst who implemented 5-minute breaks between intensive spreadsheet sessions. The analyst noticed a significant reduction in errors, improved decision-making speed, and a heightened ability to maintain deep focus throughout the day. Consistent recovery strategies transform work periods into sustainable, high-performing intervals rather than exhausting marathons. Physical health directly affects mental stamina. Nutrition, hydration, and exercise are not optional for maintaining sharp attention. They are essential. Glucose is the brain's primary fuel, and low blood sugar impairs concentration. Balanced meals, regular hydration, and protein intake stabilize energy levels and reduce mental fatigue. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, releasing endorphins and neurotransmitters that enhance cognitive function and resilience. A software developer who incorporated short daily runs and mindful hydration breaks found that coding sessions became more productive, creative blocks diminished, and fatigue during long sprints of problem-solving decreased. Mental energy is inextricably linked to physical well-being. Neglecting one inevitably undermines the other. Sleep is perhaps the most critical factor in sustaining focus. Chronic sleep deprivation impairs memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation, leading to cognitive decline and reduced productivity. Prioritizing quality sleep, maintaining a consistent schedule, reducing screen exposure before bed, and creating a restful environment restores cognitive capacity and prepares the mind for demanding tasks. A marketing strategist who adjusted sleep habits to achieve 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted rest found an immediate improvement in attention span, creativity, and the ability to handle complex projects without mental fog. Sleep is not a passive activity. It is an active investment in sustained mental performance. Mindset and emotional regulation also influence mental fatigue. Stress consumes cognitive resources, leaving less available for focused work. Techniques such as deep breathing, visualization, and reframing challenges reduce stress load and preserve attention. For example, a teacher facing a demanding schedule of grading and lesson planning used a 5-minute breathing exercise before each grading session. This simple intervention lowered stress, increased accuracy, and allowed for sustained attention over longer periods. Emotional regulation acts as a buffer against fatigue, ensuring that the brain can devote resources to productive thought rather than reactive emotion. Environmental adjustments are equally impactful. Working in cluttered, noisy, or chaotic spaces increases cognitive load, accelerating mental exhaustion. Minimizing distractions, organizing materials, and creating a calm workspace allow the mind to conserve energy for critical tasks. A graphic designer who rearranged the studio to separate creative work from administrative activities experienced less mental strain, faster project completion, and a clearer sense of focus. The environment serves as a silent partner in maintaining attention. When structured thoughtfully, it reduces the brain's need to constantly filter irrelevant stimuli. A practical exercise to overcome mental fatigue is the energy audit. At the end of each day, note tasks that cause the most cognitive strain and identify periods when energy dipped. Reflect on which activities, environmental conditions, or behaviors contributed to exhaustion. Once identified, implement small adjustments, restructuring work blocks, scheduling breaks strategically, or adjusting physical conditions to preserve mental energy. A financial analyst used this method to shift complex report preparation to mornings, leaving afternoons for lighter tasks. Within weeks, productivity improved, mistakes decreased, and overall mental clarity increased, demonstrating how conscious energy management enhances focus. Mental fatigue can also be mitigated by focusing on one task at a time. The human brain expends significant energy switching between tasks, known as task switching cost. Concentrating on a single priority until completion conserves energy, increases efficiency, and reduces cognitive strain. A journalist who previously alternated between writing, editing, and research began dedicating uninterrupted blocks to one task at a time. The result was faster completion, higher quality work, and significantly less mental exhaustion by the end of the day. Single tasking aligns the mind's energy with output, transforming scattered effort into concentrated achievement. Hydration, nutrition, rest, and movement are not mere supplements to focus. They are integral to cognitive endurance. Implementing structured breaks, task prioritization, and environmental optimization further safeguards attention. Mental fatigue is reversible, manageable, and preventable when approached with awareness and strategy. The combination of physiological care, environmental control, emotional regulation, and deliberate work structure empowers the mind to operate at sustained high performance. The key is understanding that focus is not infinite. It must be nurtured, protected, and replenished systematically. Overcoming mental fatigue transforms the perception of work. Tasks that once felt burdensome become manageable. Decisions are made with clarity, and creativity flows more freely. Real-life application demonstrates that professionals across fields, whether in coding, teaching, writing, or analysis, achieve higher output, fewer errors, and more consistent performance once cognitive energy is respected and preserved. Focus becomes not a fleeting state, but a sustainable capacity, enabling individuals to navigate demanding environments with precision, clarity, and resilience. By monitoring energy, implementing restorative practices, optimizing the workspace, and aligning tasks with peak mental performance, individuals maintain sharp attention longer and achieve more with less strain. The mind, when preserved and cared for, is capable of extraordinary endurance, creativity, and insight. Mental fatigue is not an inevitability. It is a signal that attention must be honored. By responding strategically, the brain becomes a reliable instrument for productivity, focus, and meaningful accomplishment, transforming exhaustion into sustained, high-quality performance. Chapter 9: Motivation and Willpower, Driving Consistent Focus Every Day. Motivation and willpower are often spoken of as abstract traits, but in reality, they are practical forces that can be cultivated and directed to sustain focus daily. In a world overflowing with distractions, consistent attention and effort rarely happen by chance. Motivation provides the emotional drive to begin tasks, while willpower sustains action when challenges arise. Together, they form the engine that powers deliberate productivity. Without these forces, even the most intelligent plans falter under the weight of competing demands, fatigue, and temptation. Understanding how to harness and structure motivation and willpower transforms sporadic effort into disciplined, consistent progress, enabling achievement in the midst of distraction. Motivation is rarely constant. It ebbs and flows based on mood, energy, environment, and perceived significance of a task. Successful individuals understand that relying solely on fleeting feelings of enthusiasm is a path to inconsistency. Motivation must be anchored to clear purpose. Knowing why a task matters, connecting it to long-term goals, or envisioning the impact of completion creates a durable internal drive. A student preparing for a professional certification, for example, maintains motivation by visualizing the career opportunities, financial benefits, and personal pride that success will deliver. This connection to meaningful outcomes sustains energy even during periods of fatigue or distraction, turning abstract effort into tangible commitment. Willpower, on the other hand, is a finite resource that requires careful management. Continuous exertion of self-control depletes mental energy, making the brain more susceptible to distraction and impulsive choices. Recognizing this limitation is not a sign of weakness, but a strategy for effective focus. Scheduling high-demand tasks during peak energy periods, using environmental design to reduce temptations, and incorporating restorative practices prevent premature depletion of willpower. A professional writer, for instance, who reserves early morning hours for uninterrupted drafting while leaving administrative emails for the afternoon, preserves willpower for the most cognitively demanding work. Willpower, therefore, is not about forcing action relentlessly, but about strategic allocation to tasks that matter most. One practical exercise to strengthen both motivation and willpower is the commitment contract. This involves clearly defining a meaningful goal, writing it down, and creating an external accountability mechanism. For instance, committing to a specific writing goal by a set date and sharing progress publicly or with a trusted partner generates both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. A real-life example is a software developer who committed to completing a personal coding project in 8 weeks, reporting weekly progress to a mentor. This structure provided consistent motivation to work daily and strengthened willpower by reducing the mental friction associated with procrastination. Over time, the combination of purpose and accountability turned intention into habitual action. Chunking tasks into manageable segments further supports sustained motivation and willpower. Large projects often intimidate and drain energy, leading to avoidance or scattered effort. By breaking goals into smaller, clearly defined steps, progress becomes visible and motivation is reinforced continuously. A designer tasked with creating a comprehensive portfolio divided the work into sections: concept sketches, digital drafts, and final renderings. Completing each segment provided a sense of achievement, reinforcing motivation and making the larger objective less daunting. The momentum gained from incremental success preserves willpower, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of focus and accomplishment. Intrinsic rewards amplify motivation. While external incentives are useful, true sustained focus emerges when tasks align with personal values, curiosity, or passion. A teacher preparing lesson plans may find external recognition gratifying, but the intrinsic satisfaction of nurturing students' understanding fuels consistent effort more reliably. Aligning tasks with internal drivers makes work meaningful, reduces reliance on fleeting willpower, and encourages perseverance through challenges. Motivation becomes embedded in the activity itself, transforming mundane or difficult tasks into engaging and purposeful work. Visualization techniques enhance both motivation and willpower. Imagining the successful completion of tasks, the steps required, and the feelings of accomplishment primes the brain to act deliberately. Athletes use this method to improve performance, and knowledge workers can apply it equally effectively. For example, an entrepreneur preparing a major presentation visualizes each segment, anticipates potential challenges, and mentally rehearses responses. This practice reduces anxiety, strengthens resolve, and increases the likelihood of sustained attention during the actual execution. Visualization connects emotion and cognition, bridging motivation with deliberate action. Environmental structuring reinforces motivation and willpower. Surrounding oneself with cues that signal focus and progress reduces reliance on fleeting energy. A writer who posts completed chapter goals on a visible board, or a developer who arranges the workspace to remove distractions, creates a system where the environment supports consistent effort. These visual and physical cues act as reminders of purpose, subtly maintaining motivation while reducing the cognitive burden of self-control. Over time, the environment itself becomes a silent partner in sustaining focus. Recognizing small wins strengthens motivation and preserves willpower. Celebrating progress, no matter how minor, reinforces commitment and boosts confidence. A designer who completes a single component of a larger project and acknowledges the achievement is more likely to continue working with sustained attention than someone who only measures progress by project completion. The brain responds to positive reinforcement, and by structuring acknowledgement into daily work, effort becomes self-sustaining rather than dependent solely on external pressure or fleeting enthusiasm. Finally, resilience is cultivated through repeated practice of focused action despite resistance. Motivation initiates, willpower sustains, and resilience ensures continuity. Challenges, interruptions, and setbacks are inevitable. The ability to return to the task without judgment or discouragement is what differentiates consistent performers. A musician practicing daily scales may face fatigue, distraction, or frustration, yet the disciplined return to practice reinforces both skill and attention. Motivation and willpower become intertwined with habit, transforming persistence into automatic engagement over time. By consciously cultivating motivation through meaningful goals, visualization, intrinsic rewards, and recognition of progress, and by managing willpower through strategic scheduling, environmental design, and structured effort, individuals sustain focus daily. These forces are not abstract qualities, but trainable mechanisms that transform distraction-prone days into sequences of deliberate, high-quality engagement. Real-life examples across professions, from entrepreneurs to artists to knowledge workers, demonstrate that structured motivation and preserved willpower enable extraordinary consistency, productivity, and mental clarity. Sustained focus emerges when motivation ignites intention, willpower channels action, and resilience maintains continuity. It is a dynamic interplay of internal drive, deliberate self-regulation, and practical structure. With regular practice, attention becomes less vulnerable to fleeting distraction, effort becomes predictable, and meaningful progress accumulates steadily. Motivation and willpower are not mystical or innate. They are practical tools that, when understood and applied, allow anyone to navigate a world distraction and consistently perform at their highest capacity. Chapter 10. Mastering long-term focus to achieve your biggest goals. Long-term focus is the ability to sustain attention and effort over months, years, or even decades in pursuit of meaningful goals. In a world filled with constant interruptions, fleeting trends, and immediate gratifications, maintaining this type of focus can feel almost impossible. Yet, mastering long-term focus is the differentiating factor between fleeting success and enduring achievement. It is not simply about working harder, but about creating systems, habits, and mental strategies that protect attention, align energy with purpose, and allow consistent progress despite distractions and setbacks. True mastery of long-term focus transforms ambition into measurable outcomes, turning dreams into tangible accomplishments. Understanding the nature of long-term focus begins with recognizing the tension between instant gratification and delayed reward. The human brain is wired to seek quick feedback and immediate pleasure, which often competes with the slow, deliberate effort required for significant achievements. Learning to resist the allure of short-term distraction is critical. Individuals who cultivate patience, discipline, and an appreciation for incremental progress can align their daily actions with larger objectives. A young author, for example, who committed to writing a novel over the course of a year, had to ignore the temptation of social media, episodic entertainment, and even short-term career distractions, focusing instead on daily word counts and structured writing sessions. This consistency produced a completed manuscript that would have been impossible without long-term focus. Systems and structure are the backbone of sustained attention. While motivation can spark action, it fluctuates and is insufficient on its own for long-term achievement. Establishing routines, workflows, and measurable milestones ensures that effort is directed consistently toward the ultimate goal. For instance, a software engineer aiming to master a new programming language divided learning into weekly modules, scheduled practice hours, and periodic evaluations of skill acquisition. The system reduced decision fatigue, provided a clear roadmap, and transformed a potentially overwhelming task into a series of achievable steps. Long-term focus thrives when the process is designed to support the mind rather than leaving success to chance. Resilience plays a crucial role in maintaining extended focus. Challenges, failures, and setbacks are inevitable in any significant endeavor. Those who maintain attention over the long term treat these obstacles not as insurmountable barriers, but as opportunities to adjust and learn. A real-life illustration can be seen in a professional athlete preparing for the Olympics. Training is grueling, progress is incremental, and injuries are common, yet the athlete's ability to persist through setbacks, maintain rigorous practice, and focus on the ultimate goal exemplifies the power of long-term focus in producing extraordinary results. Resilience converts challenges into fuel for sustained effort rather than triggers for distraction or discouragement. Visualization and mental rehearsal amplify long-term focus by creating a vivid connection between present action and future success. Imagining the process and end result strengthens commitment, reduces procrastination, and enhances motivation. An entrepreneur developing a new product might visualize each stage: research, design, testing, launch, and market success. This mental mapping reinforces the relevance of daily tasks, aligns attention with objectives, and transforms abstract goals into actionable, emotionally resonant steps. Visualization transforms intention into a continuous reminder of purpose, sustaining focus even when immediate feedback is minimal. One actionable practice for cultivating long-term focus is the yearly goal roadmap. Begin by defining a significant goal to be achieved over the next 12 months. Break it down into quarterly, monthly, and weekly milestones. Each week, identify the most critical action that moves the goal forward and schedule dedicated time for it. For example, a business owner seeking to increase revenue by 50% in a year might outline quarterly targets for client acquisition, monthly marketing campaigns, and weekly follow-ups with prospects. This practice ensures that daily effort is consistently aligned with overarching objectives, making long-term focus tangible and actionable. Accountability is another key factor. Sharing progress with mentors, peers, or trusted partners provides both motivation and an external mechanism to maintain consistency. An artist committed to producing a collection of paintings over a year found that reporting weekly progress to a fellow artist reinforced discipline and reduced procrastination. Accountability transforms personal ambition into a shared commitment, adding social reinforcement that supports sustained attention and effort. Long-term focus also depends on the strategic management of energy. Understanding peak mental periods, balancing periods of intense work with restorative practices, and avoiding unnecessary distractions preserves attention for the tasks that matter most. A scientist conducting complex experiments structures lab work during hours of peak focus and reserves administrative tasks for lower energy periods. This strategic alignment between energy, task importance, and time ensures that mental resources are applied where they produce the highest impact. Tracking progress and celebrating milestones reinforces long-term focus. Even small indicators of advancement create psychological momentum, encouraging continued effort and sustaining attention. A student studying for professional certification documented each completed module, creating a visible record of progress. Observing steady movement toward the goal maintained motivation, reduced anxiety, and reinforced the habit of consistent study. Progress tracking converts abstract, distant goals into immediate feedback loops that keep the brain engaged over extended periods. Finally, purpose is the ultimate anchor for long-term focus. Understanding why a goal matters, what it contributes to life, and how it aligns with values transforms sustained effort from a chore into a meaningful pursuit. Without this sense of purpose, attention becomes easily fragmented, and distractions erode progress. A community organizer working on a multi-year initiative to improve local education draws daily focus from the knowledge that each task, however small, contributes to a larger social impact. Purpose transforms persistence from mechanical effort into a compelling, motivating force that fuels attention and engagement over the long haul. Mastering long-term focus requires integrating systems, resilience, visualization, accountability, energy management, progress tracking, and purpose. Each component reinforces the others, creating a robust framework that supports sustained attention despite the inevitable distractions and challenges of daily life. The process transforms immediate action into deliberate, cumulative progress, ensuring that meaningful goals are not only envisioned but achieved. Real-world examples, from writers to entrepreneurs to athletes, demonstrate that long-term focus is attainable and produces outcomes far beyond what sporadic effort can deliver. By embedding these principles into daily routines, individuals cultivate a mental discipline that turns distraction-prone environments into arenas for deliberate, meaningful action. The combination of structured practice, aligned energy, psychological reinforcement, and purpose-driven engagement transforms focus from a fragile, momentary state into a reliable, enduring capability. Long-term achievement is not a matter of luck or extraordinary talent, but the result of carefully orchestrated attention, consistent effort, and unwavering commitment. Those who master this skill turn their most ambitious visions into reality, harnessing the power of sustained focus to create impact, success, and fulfillment beyond what the fleeting demands of daily life might otherwise allow.